Hello again and welcome back to my layout Wood Hill Park. I've been doing a few bits and pieces on the layout, not a hell of a lot as I got quite a lot of other tasks to be doing, including transferring some cine film that I've got to do, which is taking some time and also interfering with my time for the layout, but it needs to be done as it's family archiving really, and I don't want to get lost. And the loft just happens to be an ideal place to transfer cine film in. It's lovely and dark. So besides that, I have been working on the layout, but not doing a great deal, as I said, just detailing. I've detailed my Loco shed over there, maintenance shed, been adding bits and pieces to it. I've added new rolling stock here and there, including the Accurascale class 55, which I'm extremely pleased with. What a wonderful addition that is. Also, I've got some tanker wagons that I've been working on weathering, and it's all been a bit of an experiment really that sort of went wrong, and hopefully I've put it right, you know, with various paints and weathering, and I've come up with something what looks quite presentable, I think. So we'll see what you think, and thanks for all your comments anyway and support for the channel. It's great hearing back from you and giving me some of the ideas that I need for this layout. So I won't waffle on anymore, as I'm not very good at waffling anyway. So I'm sure you want to get on and see what I've done so far on the layout. So hopefully you enjoy, and here we go. After thinking I missed out on this Deltic from Accurascale, I finally got one. Strange though, I thought there wouldn't be any more in stock, and I haven't heard of a second run of these, but I put my name down on an email saying to notify me if they're in stock, but I didn't hold much hope out, as a lot of the time you do that and nothing comes of it. But lo and behold, I got an email saying they're in stock, and if I want one, order one. So I couldn't get my credit card out fast enough, I must admit, and I went for the all singing all dancing one, and I'm chuffed, to say the least. And this is going to be my dear Christmas present to myself, from myself. But I'm not really going to do an unboxing as such, because I'm not into that, and I just thought I'd show you on camera me just getting it out of the box a little bit, I suppose, and then putting it through its paces on the layout. So this is quite a long awaited moment actually. I thought I'd totally missed out on these, so I can't wait to get it running. Right, nearly ready to go. I very carefully placed her on the track. I didn't know what number it was set on for DCC, but I assumed it's 3, and just after putting it on the track, sure enough, it's come up saying it's number 3. It actually says class 55 Deltic on the hand controller, so it has told me what it is already. By the way, this version is Prince of Wales' own Yorkshire regiment, I think it's called now, if I remember, and it's of the 1980 era that I model, probably 1982 or whatever. It's got the head code blocked out with sort of the blanked plate with the lights instead of a head code, and matches some of the ones that I've got pictures of that worked in King's Cross. I don't know if this particular one did, but it's from that era, so hopefully it fits in my layout. And my layout is sort of loosely based somewhere in Yorkshire really, with the scenery I've got, so this one fits very well. I didn't really have a choice. I see this come up in stock and grabbed it when I got the chance, so we're now about to see whether it works. Hopefully it does. I'll start by playing about with the lights, I think, or maybe the sound. Let's try the sound. Oh, something's happening. Definitely right. Sounds like it's got sound. Put the lights on. That's it. Front lights are on, and let's see if she rolls. The revs are going up, that sounds pretty good, and she's moving off. Oh, that's pretty impressive. I'll stop her and go the other way. Yep. Certainly loud enough. You probably can't hear me, but yeah, impressive. I'm not sure I should be getting a squeal of brakes or not, but whether that will come into play at certain speeds, I'm not sure. Yeah, definitely like that. Right, that's a bit of a flat note, but I'll just stop her for the moment and get her ready for a trip round half hour each way at a 50% speed. Get her to run in. I'll stop her for a moment. Right, just getting ready for the moment I set her off, half hour either direction to run her in. I did have a bit of the detailing fall off. People have reported detail dropping off, and be honest, a bit dropped off on me. I didn't do it, it was actually loose in the box, but the little ladder at the front of the nose here, up the other end, has fallen off. I've got it in the box so I can put it back, but yeah, you can't see it because it's behind a bit of sea foam, but yeah, it dropped off in the box. With all that packaging, you wouldn't think it would have been a problem. But talking of sea foam, yeah, it all leaves on the line. I suffer from sea foam on the line. I just noticed this on the line. That's the only trouble with using sea foam on this embankment. It does flick about every so often. You catch a bit of clothing on it, and if you're not careful, you end up having a bit on the line and missing it, and the train going over it. But yeah, so leaves on the line ain't my problem. It's sea foam. Right, here we go. Right, I've finished running her in, half hour each direction, and she's sitting here, sort of a bit of a thrash really, rather than ticking over, but I'm now going to send her through the maintenance shed and let the guys check her over before she then into service on the layout. Very pleased with it, excellent Loco. The only thing I can fault at the moment is a bit of vibration from the speaker at certain speed levels, but that might be sorted out once I'm brave enough to open her up and go in there and maybe just put a little bit of padding to stop any vibration on the body. But it'll be a while before I open her up. I've got to get used to her and get brave enough to even touch her like that. Yeah, not cheap models, but cheaper than Bachmann at the moment, and you get a lot for your money really. Right, send her off into the shed now. Hear the vibration? Once you go past a certain volume, the vibration stops. So it just needs a little bit of padding in there somewhere to stop it vibrating the body. That's the only thing I can really fault on it. Otherwise, beautiful. Right, everything's okay, and she's passed and certificated to run on my layout now. So I'll just send her off, pick up some Mark II coaches, and off she goes round the layout. There's still quite a bit of vibration from the speaker. I'll maybe adjust the CVs. If not, get inside and add a little bit of padding to stop vibration. She's a bit plonky as she goes over some of the points. But I think that's just the sheer weight that she is. I don't think I'll be weathering her for a while. I've got to sort of get up the courage to do anything like that. It's just a lot of money, and I just want to make sure she runs really well before I get anywhere near doing that. And if I do, it'll be very, sort of light weathering to start with, just to take some of the plastic look away from the bogies. But other than that, she's a beautiful model, and that would just make her look a bit more real, because she's just too pristine. The detail on it is fantastic. I'm really glad that I purchased it. I've been having a go at improving my tanker wagons, weathering and updating the wheels and renewing the couplings with magnetic couplings by a supplier on eBay, which seems to be a very good supplier for updating your old couplings with magnetic ones, and so far they've been pretty good. Maybe not quite as strong as the Hunt couplings, but they're proving to be quite a good addition to the rolling stock. Another thing I've been doing lately is having a go at weathering my old tankers. Now these are old Hornby tankers, but they're still, you know, easily available to pick up second hand. They're a bit clumsy, maybe a little bit overscale and a bit lacking in detail, but that does allow you to have a go at enhancing them and not to worry about the cost too much, as they're not too expensive if you pick them up second hand. They've got pretty poor couplings, the usual tension lock, which I've changed for a magnetic coupling by a guy online who's selling conversions, which are very good. They're just a direct replacement via a screw and fit on, and also replaced the wheels on most of them. Funny, this one I picked up I haven't done yet. Strange, isn't it? The one that I've got here ready to weather, I have changed those. So I've changed them for nice metal wheels, and they are the Dapol type wheels, which are a bit cheaper than Hornby, but also fit in any Hornby wagon, like in coach. I've had to go at various ways of weathering them, and it's been one big experiment really. I've been using sort of what I thought was matte black paint, but I had a problem with Humbrol matte black paint in the past. I bought some and it turned out to be gloss, not black, and I got that from Hobbycraft. But I didn't take it back, I just went to another supplier and had a word with them, and he said yeah, they'd had a problem at the factory and got them muddled up. So I bought a pot from him thinking it was a different batch, but that also turned out to be gloss black. So for quite a while I gave up on buying any Humbrol blacks because they're not true to what's on the lid. And time had passed and I thought, oh, they must have sorted out the problem. So I put an order in to buy some paints, and I thought I'd give it a go, and I bought, rather silly really, I bought, to make up the order, I bought 3 tins of matte Humbrol, matte number 33 it is, and guess what, I've just been using it and it comes out gloss again. So I don't know what the hell they're doing at the factory, and I think Hornby own them now, I don't know. It's part of Hornby, but yeah, it's got Hornby Hobbies on the back. They don't seem to be able to get matte black paint in a tin, so I'm having to dole them down where I've used what I thought was matte black paint as oil spilling out down the tanker, and I've been dulling them down with weathering powders, and also using weathering powders generally just to make them rusty and whatever. So I've been using various things like cotton wool buds, trying to apply it, but you know, it's all right for applying bits of rust that are running down the top of it, but you know, you tend to lose more of the actual weathering powder than you actually use. It just ends up all over the place, So just out of desperation I thought I'd just use my finger, and to be honest that's doing a better job than using any applicator. So I've just been using, in this case it's Tamiya, they've got letters what identify them. This is Tamiya B in their weathering powders, and it's got snow, soot and rust, and I've just been using the rust to wipe over first of all over the matte black paint that isn't matte, to actually dull it down with a rust and make it look a little bit more believable as a spillage over time. And as I say, I started using my finger, and I've had better results using my finger than anything else. And it dulls the black down. It also nicely drags the rust down the side of the tank, which sort of does a good job of looking like rusty runs of water down the side from the past, rust in the tank. So, but applying it with your finger seems a better way of doing it. And any excess I just brush off with a soft brush onto the paper underneath, and just keep building it up. And if you want a little bit more black, you know, just in there with a bit more black with your finger again. But they pretty much, these weathering powders are pretty much like makeup that women would use, really. So you can put them on in that sort of way, build up stuff. So just go along and blend it in and dull down the black, which in my case has not come out very well because it's not as I intended, but this does a reasonable job of improving this cock up. But at least buying second-hand wagons like this, you, to a certain degree, haven't got that fear of all the money you've put into buying this wagon being sort of destroyed, really, I suppose you could say. You're destroying something, whereas you've got more confidence with a second-hand vehicle. You can really go at it and not really care. And to be honest, you can amend your mistakes by removing and adding more grot, really, because you are just trying to make them grotty. And you see most of them on the network are filthy. In fact, you can't even read names on them to determine, you know, whose wagons they are. I mean, in this case, you know, you can leave the motifs and logos without getting any weathering on them if you want, but or you just give them a light blend of rust running down over them. But yeah, your finger seems to be a good way of applying it, and then just a light brush off. And later on, when you're happy with it, you can seal it with a satin varnish, or, I mean, a matte varnish might do alright. I've had bad experience with matte, though. They tend to go a bit milky, and you end up having to re-varnish it or play with it anyway. So, satin, I would say. But that's the sort of result you get, and you can just keep making it more and more grotty, to be honest. I mean, starting with that, you know, minus the rust I've done at the top, and then ending up with a more blended stain down the side, really. But yeah, I'm gradually going through improving these tankers, and so far if not that convincing close up, from a little way away they look very good, and they aren't costing the earth. So if you've got any of these and you fancy an experiment, I suggest having a go this way. But hopefully it'll work out for you. It's working out for me. I quite like this way of doing things. I should add, all these tankers have had a basic weathering with the airbrush before I've done this, which has got sleeper grime on the underframe and some roof dirt over the top of it generally, and maybe a quick blast with some sort of matte black. I think because I have got matte black in amongst my stuff what I use with my airbrush, so maybe a little bit of matte black over where the access points are for the tanks. But other than that, it's not been weathered any further other than via the weathering powders. So I think the weathering powders have done the better job of actually enhancing it. But yes, there is a base weathering with an airbrush, which I imagine you could emulate with a bit of dry brushing before you did this. You can use airbrushes. I have had a go with airbrushes, but they're not as controllable really as using the weathering powders for this sort of thing. You end up with just stripes rather than sort of grotty stains really. So airbrushes are really good for weathering, but in this sort of case I think you need more artistic control, I think might be the word. Artistic control, that's an interesting term, but at least you can apply it exactly where you want it and brush off where you don't need it, rather than plaster it all over with an airbrush. It's good for general weathering, but as a base weathering it's great. But where you want sort of more precise applications, an airbrush is probably a bit hard to control. Also, when doing this, try to ensure that you get some of the rust weathering powder in the lines between the joins in the tank. That enhances the look of the tank where there would have been water run down and rust the seams, and that does give it a good effect. Another thing to add is where you have airbrushed it and you've got a rough surface of paint, weathering it with the rust seems to come out better. So where it's rough, it grabs hold of the rust and you end up with a very good effect where the rust is clinging on. It just clings to the side of the tanker. So it being a rough surface actually gives you a better result, because it just takes the pigment out of your finger and holds it on the surface. So quick brush and a bit of a varnish later on, and that's going to look quite individual and quite effective. Hopefully from this close up you can see more of what I mean. Well, you never guess. I had to think about this, and I preferred it with just the single lights without a diffuser. So I've gone back to where, to the start really, having lights like this, but hiding the wires better, that's all. So I'll just put this back in place now, and it's all ready to go. Just looks so much better with individual LEDs, whereas the diffuser ruined the look really. They look like individual sodium lights. So hopefully I've got it right this time, and it should look better on camera when I send the cab camera through the maintenance depot. The postman's just been and brought me another bit of detailing that's going in my maintenance shed. I bought a couple of these maintenance ladders, you might call them. I don't. Two of them, and they're already painted. They come from Goodwood Scenics, and it's part of their bulk scene range, and I got them on that auction site, and as they agreed a lower price, so I think I got the two for around £10 with free postage. So they'll be a good addition to the detailing in the maintenance shed, so I'll be adding them in a minute. I've just weathered them and put them in place with a bit of Copydex so they can be easily removed, but hopefully don't fall over. It's becoming a bit crowded now with detailing, so I think I reached my limit of the bits and pieces that I'm going to put in the maintenance shed. But they're a good addition. There's one serving each line, and should add some realism for when you look in the shed. Also, an addition to my layout is these two Gov Royal Mail private sector coaches I've added, which are a nice addition to my Royal Mail rake, just to mix it up a bit, as the 1980s was full of changes as different liveries were appearing here and there, so just to mix up the rake really. I've also been installing more LED lighting on the beams facing into the layout, and this gives them the layout a bit more of a sort of brighter white look, more of a daylight look. So I've just finished doing this side. At least you can use these to your advantage. As much of a nuisance as they are to, you know, access the layout and film the layout, they are of use to put lighting on at least. I think the new LED lighting looks pretty good myself. I'm sitting in the middle of the loft. It only lights up the layout really, so draws your attention to the layout rather than the centre of the room. So I'll definitely be adding more to some of the dark spots. At the moment it's a good start. That's it for this update. Thanks for watching if you're still with me, and please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because that does let me know that people are still interested in me carrying on doing this. And thanks for all your comments, because the comments do give me some ideas, they give me feedback, sort of plus and negative really. It all gives me an idea of how the channel is progressing and how my modeling's progressing really. I do appreciate feedback, as long as it's clean and you know, constructive. So thanks very much, and again thanks for watching, and see you again next time. Bye. Cheers, see you again next time.